Hi, my name is Attorney Broderick Brown. I'm a licensed attorney in the state of California. And today, what I'm going to be doing is breaking down Dr. Dre's net worth. And so, there's been a lot of discussion about his net worth after he sold Beats to Apple. There was some speculation that he was hip hop's first billionaire. I think he said so much in a video with Tyrese shortly either before or after that announcement. But due to his divorce, we're able to see his assets that he actually has because he signed it under penalty of perjury as a part of the divorce proceeding. So today we're going to look at his income and expenses paperwork, and let's see how much Dr. Dre's net worth actually is. All right, so let's start at the top of this document. This is the income and expense declaration. And so the purpose of this is to determine what a litigant's income and expenses and overall assets are. And so when someone presents this to the court, they're doing so under penalty of perjury. And so let's look at Dr. Dre's filing. So, we know he's a music producer, composer, entertainer. And here's the key thing. He declares under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California that the information contained on all pages of this form and any attachments is true and correct. And here's Dr. Dre's signature. His legal name is Andre Young, if you didn't know, but let's get into it. So I redacted the case number, just something that I like to do, but if you're that interested, it's not that hard to find. Let's go down to the assets. And so this is interesting on a couple fronts. His cash and checking accounts and savings accounts, money markets, and other essentially cash accounts are $182 million and change. Now, his stocks and his bonds or other assets that he can easily sell are, let's just round down, approximately $6 million. And then all his real property and his businesses amount to $269 million. And that's Dr. Dre's assets. That adds up to a little bit under $500 million. So he's not quite a billionaire, but he's still in the well-established in the top 1%, and he's probably in the upper half of the top 1%. Now, what's interesting, when I first saw this, like, why would someone have $182 million in cash? And I believe that the document shows why he had that amount in cash, and that in essence, he had that amount in cash in preparation for the divorce settlement. And keep in mind, if you didn't know, his divorce settlement with his ex-wife got approximately $100 million. She was going to get $50 million up front, and then another payment for $50 million, which obviously adds up to $100 million. And so why do I know that, or why do I suspect that? Let me say it that way. So he reported his income from self-employment as $228,000, and then his investment income was approximately $120,000, but he had to report additional income, and the additional income was $73 million in realized gains from Apple stocks, what do they mean by realized gains? Realized gains is when you purchase stock. Let's just use some round numbers. Like, let's say someone purchased $100,000 in Apple stock. If the stock goes up, and by the time they sell, the stock is $150,000, they would have $50,000 in realized gains. And so when they sell it, 50,000 of the 150,000 that they sold, in terms of value, 50,000 of that is would be realized gains when they sold, and then the 100,000 would be the initial investment. And so what's not clear here is what the initial investment was of the Apple stock. And I suspect when Apple purchased Beats, Dr. Dre probably received some portion of cash and then some portion of Apple stock. And so I don't know what the initial investment is, but I find it highly unusual for someone to have $182 million just in a cash account, given how hot the market's been, given just the state of the economy. I suspect that this $73 million figure is included in this cash account. And what's also included in that account is his initial investment. Now, the initial investment might have been an award that he received when he sold Beats, meaning, let's say what was reported was that he received $800 million from his share of the sale. Given his income level, he's clearly, let's just say that he pays 50% in taxes. That's probably not precise, but it creates easy math. But let's say that his tax rate is 50%. If he received $800 million in either cash or stocks, he's basically giving $400 million of that back to Uncle Sam via taxes, and so he'd be left with about $400 million. Now, if he invested a portion of that in the Apple stock has been is a lot higher than it was in 2014. I believe it's even split once or twice in the last 7 years, and so his Apple stock may have been substantial, or there's a possibility that that $800 million could have vested over a number of years. We'll never know that because that's not included in the divorce proceedings. But what we do know is that he sold a significant amount of shares to have a realized gain of $73 million. And I think that that explains why he has so much cash in his account. And the reason why it's highly unlikely that someone's going to have, $173 million in cash in the account is that the bank's interest rates are really low right now. And so with inflation, he would essentially be losing money. He'd be losing 2 or 3% if that's how he held his assets long term. So my initial reaction was wrong because I was like, why would you hold that much cash? Like, I'm not a 100 millionaire, but like, I don't hold that much cash in any of my checking accounts just because you're essentially losing money. And so what we do know is that it looks like he owns about $6 million in stocks and bonds after selling this Apple stock, which is, given his net worth, that's relatively low. But now that his divorce is over, I would assume that a portion of this is either going to be reinvested back into the stock market or it'd be invested into his real estate. And so this $269 million is composed of both his real estate holdings as well as his business ventures. And that would be his music related ventures. And I could show you those companies in a second. What's interesting is that after he after Beats was purchased by Apple, he bought Tom Brady's mansion in cash for $40 million in, I think, 2015. At some point, I'm going to break down his real estate holdings. But for now, for just this video, these are his assets. And let me show you the business portion. Now, they didn't put valuations on his businesses. They just value the income. Some of the documents that were involved in the divorce were redacted or filed under seal. This is a document that wasn't filed under seal, so we don't really know the valuation of either individually of his real estate holdings as well as his business holdings. We just know that they add up to about $270 million. But then this is his interest and dividends from his various partnerships and LLCs, at least in the year 2020. Let me see. And these are his various business entities. And again, we're not getting the valuation here of these entities, but these are his various businesses that he either owns outright or has a ownership interest in. And another thing that was interesting while we have it is, before we go, I found this interesting that he owned a substantial amount of Apple stock if he was getting $500,000 in dividends, $40,000 a month on average, which is pretty incredible. And so let me sum this up. While Dr. Dre is not, in fact, a billionaire at the time of his divorce, who knows if he was ever a billionaire, Andre Young, which is Dr. Dre's real name, has done a lot right. He's won the game of life. Anytime you're able to stroke a 9-figure check, even if it's a part of the divorce, you're doing a whole lot right. And while him writing that check to his ex-wife is, I would imagine, I don't think it's painful to him, but because it's not really going to impact his life. But I think a lot of times on the internet, us normal people, we think that, well, you know, it's $100 million, but that $100 million to me or you would just be 20% of our net worth. And he's obviously financially free. He's never going to, he should never have any money issues as long as he continues to properly manage his assets. And at the end of the day, he's won. So, you know, even though he's not a billionaire, and even though I like to harp on in my Rihanna video that a lot of these celebrities either exaggerate or lie about their net worth, and I personally don't understand it, but being worth almost $500 million is a lot to be proud of, and like he should be proud, and he's doing a lot of good work with his money. And so I'm gonna hopefully produce a couple more videos related to this document. And if you've gotten this far, I appreciate it. If you enjoy content like this, I would appreciate it if you like and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, see you again.